We will call the meeting to order, quorum being present. Start with, but before I go any further, I've got my agenda says February 9th.
No, it's,
I don't have the right one.
no, you got the wrong one.
That's what I was doing.
The one that I asked you to read the stuff from?
Yeah, where'd that go? Here it is. I'm sorry. I now have it. My bad. All right. So we will call the meeting to order, quorum being present. I need to read this paragraph. Correct, Jack, to move forward?
Yes.
Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the Westborough Treatment Plant Board will be conducted in person via remote means according to applicable law. This means that members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. Person attendance will be at 238 Turnpike Road, Westborough, Massachusetts, and it is possible that all members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may be accessed remotely via.
Okay, thank you.
So that's been read, Jack. So
Sorry.
the meeting is now over. We will, we've got some minutes to approve. There's a little bit of process here. So we will, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 9th, 2022. All in favor? Now, we have we have minutes from the executive session of January 12th, 2022. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we need to approve those minutes. And do we need to do that by roll or just a voice vote?
I think because Tom's not online yet, I think you could do just regular voice.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Once he comes
we need a
online.
motion to approve the minutes of the executive session of January 12th, 2022.
So, second.
All in favor?
For comment.
Yes.
Minutes probably should just reflect that it was a roll call vote to go into executive session.
I did change that.
Yeah, it is noted in the minutes. Third paragraph down. Mr. Stanton called the meeting to order by roll call at 9:59. And,
Has to go into it.
but we did, there's nothing.
You need the same.
Yeah, it says the meeting was adjourned at 10:16 by motion made, seconded, and voted.
Then I need to print out the right one.
All right. So we'll add that to the motion. Second on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. And then we need to approve the minutes of the committee meeting from February 11, 2022. That was to just discuss the interview of Dennis Unger. That vote will only be, Darlene, you will participate in that vote. Jack will participate in that vote. I will participate, and Jack will. And Keith, I'm sorry, Keith as well. So if we have a motion from one of those individuals to approve those minutes.
I'll second. Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yeah.
I heard from Leah. Leah had no problems with the minutes.
Okay.
And she appreciated the opportunity to help the board out. And she said, don't hesitate to call again if we want her to do it again.
Very good.
But because Darlene's remote, I suggest this be a roll call vote because Darlene's remote.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Darlene,
Approved.
Jack Goodall,
Approved.
Keith, approved. Jack Pearl, approved. Mike Stanton. On to invoices.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have for outstanding invoices, a total of $334,943.5. Neolia for next month is $260,399.1. The next two invoices are, the board acted on last month, but is up. Michelle had taken them off the pink slip, so they're on this month as well. $20,161 for chemicals, septage is $2,001. Kearsarge, $6,328.68. National Grid, $45,873.72, and Miracle Connell, $180.
Motion to approve. Second. Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, the payroll is $10,956. $2,472 for my monthly allotment. The board want to act on retroactive. I appreciate the thought, but it's a lot of money. If you want to decrease it or take it out, I understand. $8,484. Well, I appreciate it.
I move to reduce it to 3,000.
I say he takes the $8 grand and he divvies it amongst the committee.
Sounds good to me.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Jack, that money was approved long ago. That's your money, so have no guilt, no second thoughts.
Whoever was sitting in that chair,
They were going to get that money, and you, whoever it was, you deserve it more than they will at that point.
Well, I appreciate, my grandkids will appreciate it as well. Other invoices, $156,960 for ESI. That's a partial payment. Their submittal has been approved, but they still have a couple outstanding issues to do. One of which I think is to come out and visit the loaders that we have here, so they can start on the actual final stuff. AECOM and I are recommending that you do a partial payment of 80%. That came from AECOM, basically.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? None? All those in favor? Aye. Good job.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, the Nippy's permit, there were a couple of small changes from the draft to the final. I listed them out. Reporting frequency for copper has been revised weekly to monthly as we requested. The ammonia limit during April, May has been changed from 1 milligram per liter to 2.6 milligrams per liter. We had asked for them to maintain, I think it's about 5 milligrams per liter, a winter amount. And so they came back with a compromise and of 2.6 for those 2 months. They put in CBOT instead of BOD during winter. We currently have CBOD and they changed it. We made a comment, so they addressed it.
Expound on that first layman, please.
It's carbonaceous, if I'm not mistaken. BOD, biological oxygen demand. It's slightly different.
Now I know more.
So it's been a long time since I had to say it out. So revised wording to clarify aluminum limit. Something to do about mass water quality. It's not a big deal. That was a comment somebody made. Requirement to monitor and report phosphorus loading in pounds. The draft had it just a milligram per liter. Now we have to report in pounds. So it's not any more testing, I don't think, but it's another calculation.
Correct.
So basically, in my opinion, there's nothing other than the cost, and cost isn't going to get us anywhere. I don't think there's anything in the permit that the board should, that would warrant an appeal, because appeals are costly. I don't think you'll win. And there's no reason to delay the issue, because it's not going to. So I don't think it's to the board's best interest to appeal.
Keith, none of this is a hardship to you.
No.
Doesn't make sense. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, how long is the permit valid?
5 years, or unless otherwise, I want to be careful what I say. They can always withdraw it, after a couple of years,
They can pull it back.
they can pull it back and give us a new one. And if they don't renew it in 5 years, it just keeps on going.
Which we've been doing for how many years now?
We're under the 05 permit.
We're on the 05.
So
it
it-
expired in 05
No,
or
10.
2010?
10.
So almost 12 years now.
Yeah, I think it was May of 5 or something like that.
Yeah, that's like that.
So the changes they're asking for are not that bad, well, speaking how long.
Consider-
Changes from the draft. Keep in mind that the draft had a lot of changes, the winter phosphorus and things like that. So I addressed things from the draft, not from the current. Right. As far as from the May of 05 permit, there's things, there's some testing, additional testing that Veolia has to do. There's 1 or 2 items that we don't have to test for anymore. So there's a lot of things that change back.
Nothing major, like we feel the first one.
Other than the costly issue of winter phosphorus. There's nothing. Right. So I want to bring that up to the board. The other thing is, because we do have the Shrewsbury Interceptor within the town of Westborough, we do have a sewer system. So we do have to map that out. So we have 2.5 years, because you have to keep in mind the towns are co-permittees for the sewers. They have to do it. So that we have 2.5 years to do it. Ours is minor.
So since we have that portion of pipeline on the property, that he's going to put it in a system.
Right.
All right. That should.
So Keith and I've asked Keith if anybody at Veolia has AutoCAD capability. So if somebody knows somebody that knows AutoCAD capability and with AutoCAD license and software, we're looking for. You can do it.
Say, you can't find somebody. Check it. It's not that big of a deal.
Shouldn't be that.
No,
How long is that?
about 4,000 feet. I went to the registry online. I went to the registry and I have the easement. Keith does too.
I saw you.
Yeah. So, and it's three pages of easements. And it's just basically going from Route 9 out at the entrance here. It kind of goes through to around Uno's. No, it goes this side of Uno's, I think, and then it goes between Uno's and the next one. And then it stays to the left of the complex out there, to the west of the cinema and stuff like that. And actually, if you go to the
So we have to map that portion
yep, because it's our sewer.
because it comes in here.
It's within the town of Westborough.
Plant owns. Shrewsbury has easements.
Well, what does town of Westborough? This is my question.
They own the rest of the town.
Okay.
Okay, they own the town of Westborough sewer system.
Because this isn't their line.
Right.
It's your line, Shrewsbury's.
Right.
I got it. Okay.
Actually, the plants.
It's the plant's line.
I'm not saying I agree with what they did.
No, that's fine. I just clarity. That's all.
But it's in the
Not
inter-
arguing.
it's in the intermunicipal agreement
Right.
that we have it.
Yeah.
Okay. It should be design plan.
Yeah.
I mean, as
Oh.
it's on all that.
We have all that, but I didn't have the easement plans, so now we do. And, but basically you can see, because Veolia does clear the easement out of vegetation, you can kind of see it on the GIS computer, if you know what to look for. you can see the.
Do we need an as-built to be part of the?
Yeah, well, you have to take a street map and basically put the sewer line on the street map.
With the utility in there.
You know, if you could think of a town sewer, okay? It's just, this isn't a town sewer.
Right. It's just-
The town, the
Same
two,
woman.
the
Right,
three
yeah.
towns, the three towns have to do it as part of
Right.
the permit,
Okay.
and we have to do
So you
it.
just need somebody that can come in with the AutoCAD and plug that all.
Yeah,
in.
it's not a lot.
Everything that already exists.
It's not a lot of work, and we should pay for it, so if one of the towns do it, then they should charge us hourly for the, you know, like Leah and, Bob do, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Very good.
Okay. We're all done with that. Next item is the voter. AECom submitted a report. It's pretty similar to the last report, and that's kind of general, but they did get in a little detail. I noticed that ESI is reporting a little supply problem with one of their things, stuff like that. So, no, it's happening all over.
I tried to tell you. Yeah, over a year.
Yeah. Next item is the intermunicipal agreement is up for March town meeting. Christia said she'll have one of the selectmen move
Yeah,
them
you know,
over.
it's really their thing. You know?
Yeah, I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, so that's fine.
But so they'll bring it up, and I'll just explain that. And Mark will put the article up on the screen, and all it is just explaining what they see on the screen. There's no magic to it. No, I don't think so. Okay, next one. I'd like to discuss it. Michelle sent out the draft agreement. And I wanted to point some things out. The board doesn't have to act on it this month. Veolia would like the board to act on it for April. And if it's the board's pleasure, I'll ask Steve and Veolia to sign it. But basically, the changes from the current process, yeah, you do. I listed out in my email to you all, and I think Michelle included it in the package. And that is the R&M and major R&M values are set for 200,000 the first year, and they'll increase with the CPI after that. That was in the RFP. Veolia would be paid for the month invoice that is submitted, whereas currently they're paid a month in advance. That was in the RFP. I'm saying it's RFP versus negotiations, so the board knows if I initiated it or if it's part of the negotiations. The chemical limit amount is set for $355. It'll be reset at the end of each year. Overruns of the $355 will be paid to Veolia. Underruns will be rebated to the board or carried over. That was in Veolia's proposal. Sludge limit account is set for $835 the first year. And again, it's similar to the chemical amount in that it'll be reset. Overruns to be paid to Veolia, underruns to be back to the board. And that was in Veolia's proposal. Annual adjustment of base fee will be based solely on the CPI. PPI will no longer be included. And that's because of the chemical limit account. Eliminated the need for it. The agreement has allowance of $200,000. This is the item that I'd like some direction on from the board. The new permit allows 12 months until the board is required to comply with winter treatment of 0.2. Most of the allowance is relative to the treatment of phosphorus, most, not all. The board has the option of removing a portion of the $200,000 allowance as relative to phosphorus. We'd have to divvy it up into the other accounts still. Oh, no, actually, sludge and chemicals wouldn't come into effect, while leaving it in. And if you leave it in, it'd be for the purpose of spending it to verify that the limit can be met and maybe to analyze a couple of different ways of doing it. I initially thought maybe we could leave a portion of it in, and that way there Keith could play around some, but not a lot. But Veolia would like for Keith to play around a lot with it, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea is 0.2 is still, it's twice what 0.1 is. 0.1 is the summer, but it's still very stringent. Now, it's no room for error. If you have a 0.5, it takes a long time to get back to 0.2. So your monthly average may be over 0.2 if you have a 0.5, if you can follow that. So if Keith was to wait a year, chances are he'd just go and treat it for 0.2 and not worry about the other alternatives because he couldn't afford to worry about the other alternatives. He has to treat for 0.2. So if we leave it in, Keith can take next year, play around with it like a pilot study and try to come up with the best alternative. In their proposal, Veolia's proposal, they suggested a couple of different alternatives for winter phosphorus. And so this would allow, I think, Veolia to play around with it. Let's see, Keith has the portion of the proposal there. I have it as well. So what I did was I came back and I asked Veolia for a plan of attack. Now, it's a plan. So they said, I think April they could probably have it in. I guess it's in front of the technical people now. And that way there the board can see what you're getting for the money. You know, it's different things or whatever they're going to try. So I think it's money that you might save long term over the duration of the contract if they are able to come up with a different way of doing it. It might be that it's just the regular, same as the summer process, only you don't try quite so hard to treat the phosphorus. So I think I'd like some direction. Do we take it out or do we leave it in, the 200,000? Other than that, the contract should be good. So again, my recommendation is to leave it. But it's not my money, it's the board's money.
Comments, concerns, questions?
I think it makes sense
I
to
leave it
try
in.
and get see what works the best.
Yeah. That would require leaving that money. My thought.
So-
Vote on that.
No,
Just move forward.
A little bit of money, long range.
I just don't want to wait till next month. That's all. I just want to know now if I have to take it out.
Jack, if I could just interrupt you for a second. Tom Burke tried to FaceTime.
Do you have to accept people when they come in?
I didn't have to accept more dollars.
Well, once the meeting's open. So
That's right.
I don't see anything here either. Oh, that's right too. You can see it up there.
No, he would be on, all you do is go on, we can do FaceTime, just go on and just click on the Zoom. You're in. All right, people, okay, we tried.
Okay. Limitation of liability. Again, this is where I went back and forth. Veolia wanted it set at contract value. Steve and I had wanted a 10 million, and we settled on 8 million. And again, that's for liability, not gross negligence, but just regular oops type of thing. And Steve particularly wanted to make sure the board's aware of the 8 versus the 10 versus everything. Dispute resolution. The documents call for mediation if both sides agree to it. And if mediation doesn't work, then it goes to court. And breach technology, that's something that Veolia has wanted for a long time to have it revised. And so it's been revised to the satisfaction of both sides. Anyway, so those are the major things. I can answer any questions. Well, let me rephrase that. I'll try to answer any questions. If the board has any questions before April, and if the board has no questions, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Veolia and Steve to sign before the board meeting. That way there, when you sign it, it's done.
Change in scope adjustment. Page 23. Over. So the annual fee, E2, 23. So the annual fee services on this agreement based on 25. How is that tested daily, monthly, and obviously that those parameters are going to affect the contract. I imagine if they exceed or decrease it based on that assumption. And I don't know if we're doing something down today now or not.
These are set up for, let's see, the current one, the 6 is about our average long-term, okay, over years. So 1 year we'll do about 5.5, next year about 6. So we have existing parameters in here that answer your question. They're based upon the testing that Veolia does now, okay, for all the permit stuff. So the testing is done regularly. The loading
Is the testing done weekly, monthly, daily?
it
How
varies.
you arrive at that number each month?
DOD is 3 times.
It varies.
TSS is 3 times. Ammonia in the winter is once a week. Ammonia in the seasonal summer.
And you average that for the month, see how it's that limit?
Yeah, and so we came up with existing flows, existing parameters that both Veolia, this is before the RFP. While I was preparing the RFP, Veolia and I had a discussion about average flows and average parameters to put in here. Okay. And then for what, there's also limits in here that, you know, if we grow, if we get really bad, what kicks in? Revised scope, okay, revised fee. And those are higher, which are unlikely to be hit. I'm not saying won't be hit, but unlikely because they're high. We currently have high values in the existing contract, okay? So they're high. Armageddon, we'll reach it. Shy of Armageddon, we won't.
So they're not low where they're going to kick in the extra cost.
Think Armageddon.
It's highly unlikely we would see these limitations.
We
Enough said it's something.
the ones that were in there now, even though we've revised them from the current contract, we never hit them yet.
All right.
Good question. Okay, so we'll proceed to get it ready for the board. I'll stand out of it.
Committee expected to make its recommendation before it's made. I have no problem handling this. We had, I thought the group we had together did an excellent job of vetting the candidate. It was much more in depth than what we were able to do at our regular meeting. What was that, in January? Did we get that?
Yep.
Discussion? And the questions were excellent. The approach was excellent. I thought it was not only sufficient, but ample opportunity for the candidate to come forward and sell himself to the committee, to the board. And I know it is my opinion, and I believe it was a unanimous opinion of the ad hoc committee, that he failed miserably in those opportunities. He just didn't really bring anything to the table that what we were looking for. He comes off as an extreme micromanaging individual, wants to have a hand in everything that takes place at the plant, should he take a position, from chemical deliveries to any projects that are being done, totally outside of the scope of anything that Jack's doing. And when we tried to get his feel for what Jack actually does, we just couldn't get the answers we were looking for. Darlene posed an exceptional question. It's in the minutes to the meeting. And Darlene, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think you rephrased it 4 or 5 different ways.
Yeah.
Never once got a direct answer on it. And it was a great question. It was, have you ever come across a situation where there was resistance to what you wanted to do with the project, and you had what method did you take to resolve the issue? And he just didn't answer the question.
His response was more like it was my way or the highway.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were looking for somebody who was a mediator more. How do you know?
Right. And Jack was kind of explaining to him, some of the things that he does, and he wasn't really grasping it. And I abruptly interrupted Jack and took over the conversation. I said, this is what Jack, this is just one example of what he does. And relationships that Jack has built with the 2 towns and the individuals in town hall that he has to deal with on a regular basis, and with Veolia and so forth are paramount to the success of what we've got going on here. And the people that Veolia has in place for us, offering this place is second to none. And he was just going to come and turn the whole thing upside down. All those relationships that Jack has built over the past 15, 20 years would have been fractured. It would have been severely compromised. So I'm comfortable in saying that this is not the candidate. Jack, expound on that.
Sure, I think that, again, different people tried to explain it to him. This was more of an administrative job than an engineer. He gave examples of things that he did and wanted to do. And he said that if something's delivered here to the plant, he wants to see it. Something, and I'm looking at Keith's report this month about, wine coming in, totes of, stuff coming. He wants to see everything. He said, if it's here and I have to sign off on it, I want to see it. I can't wait to get my hands into the rotor project and all that. Wanting to do that, we explained, we get 8 that's going to do that. We have our engineer. You're just going to oversee it. Well, he was going to be here every day. He talked about when he, I guess he serves on, must be like a capital improvements.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
At the town he lives in, and he said that whatever they came forward with, he had to see it. Police said they needed a new cruiser. They had to bring the old one, show them why they needed a new cruiser. If they were going to repave a road, he had to go out and see it. So he could decide if he could repave it. He's just going to go through nitpicking little nitty-gritty stuff. We kept on giving him the opportunity to understand that it was not that type of job, and it's more the overview, and that Keith runs the plant, not him. It's that type of thing, and it just didn't go. He just would.
I got nervous when I saw Keith started to write out his resignation.
Well, I had said the first time he started, after he left, I said, you know what? I don't think this guy's going to fit.
No.
I mean,
No. He didn't even have to leave. I knew he wasn't going to fit.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying,
Yeah.
is he going to fit in with your?
Right.
That was my concern. Right away.
And Darlene, you can speak to this because Darlene did comment exactly to that, man, that, Veolia has several plants or a plant or 2 where, they've had people in positions similar to Jack's that were micromanagers, and they've had a hard time keeping plant managers.
Right. Right, absolutely, yeah. Somebody's constantly standing over your shoulder and questioning your judgment, and you're the chief operator. You're the licensed operator with all the experience, and you still got somebody who has not that background questioning everything you do. So it's not an easy environment to succeed in.
Contractually, if I start telling Keith what to do, the way that liability clause, and you put it square on the board. So, but you don't want to do it.
Jack said it correctly, or no, Darlene said it, I'm sorry. It was his way of the highway, and on every issue, that's the way it was going to be. His way of the highway.
To speak for her was Leah, she's in the minutes too.
Yeah.
Her first comment when he left was, wow, this guy doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah.
That's the way.
But, yeah.
I can imagine, paper clips, many part of us down.
Yeah, I mean, I was taking notes and so forth, and before I even spoke, I wrote in big letters, stars, micromanage, it was so obvious,
How can you micromanage something that you know anything about?
Well,
You micromanage when you know everything about it. You want
He thinks he does.
And the other part of it too is he made it very clear that anything Jack has going, Jack's gonna finish.
He wants finished, and that's when I jumped in. That's exactly the point when I
He's
jumped
not
in.
gonna-
I said, this
I
is,
assume Jack's gonna finish.
yeah. Because he really doesn't want anything to do with either town hall. He pretty much made that perfect clear without coming out and saying it, Because that's a lot of that. Well, that, and again, Fran, that was a lot of what was presented to him, and he kept kind of pushing it, as he did when he met with us the first time. He kept pushing it across the table, where he's not gonna have time at town hall because he's gonna be running the plant. So we're better, I would say we need to vote, Jack.
Yes, please.
Any other questions, concerns anybody has before we make a motion and so forth? I would say,
I'll make a motion to advertise it.
okay, right. Before we do that,
Does that mean that he's gone now by re-advertising? I mean,
Yes.
you have to
I'll send him an
we're
email.
gonna instruct Jack to contact Dennis Unger and let him know that the board has decided
Move on.
Nicely worded.
to continue their search for DA.
You have to give him a reason why.
We appreciate his time and his interest, but at this time, the board feel they need to.
So if I'm him,
To
okay.
continue-
I spent
continue.
this time, really, why did you guys do the job? You?
Fran, we know for
No, I
2 years.
He-
I get those emails on a regular basis.
Didn't seem to be a proper fit.
Right, yeah.
Just leave it at that. I wouldn't get,
And he could always ask. he
No,
could-
the board has made the decision to pursue other candidates. So that's all you have to say.
He can ask for the minutes.
Yeah,
That's his
public-
choice.
the public, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm not concerned about it. We don't. Before you advertise it, Jack, you have any interest, you and I sit down with Jack and go over what this advertisement will look like? I think it would be good. Make sure we've got the right information going into the advertisement, so we get the right responses.
You're going to be very different than we did.
I think we need to.
There might be
I
a
think
couple of
there's some tweaks
small,
that need to be made.
there were a couple of small edits that were brought up to the board, brought up,
Well,
that the
let's
board brought
sit
up.
down and just see, it may only take us a half an hour or whatever.
And there are differences between,
Darlene, you got any interest in maybe sitting down with us as well?
Yeah, I'll make time. Let me know what.
Only we can do it like this or whatever, so you don't have to come all the way out here. What's that? Yeah, I've got time. Yeah. You got time to stay online after,
I can stay on till 9:30.
it might be more beneficial if I send out the.
why don't we do that? Why don't we, have it, and then we'll set a date maybe,
In a week or two.
a week or two, and just to, says hour, and I don't think it'll take us an hour.
In case he wants to look at minutes or something, who knows? We don't want to
Yeah.
claim we didn't think of me on the same day.
And there, there are different ways of advertising because you have Indeed, which is now the newspaper.
Right, that we can figure out, but I'm worried about what the wording of the
Let
actual
me ask
advertisement.
a question. Let me ask a question on the advertising. You emphasize more technical engineering, PE, than administrative with the ad, that's why this guy got
That's
it.
what I'm concerned about.
I mean, if we're gonna get an engineering key versus administrative, a real deal and get things done, it has the technical ability, that's kind of.
Yeah, truthfully, I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, well, we-
And
that's what
again,
we need
each
to answer.
one is different. In each place they advertise structure. So, New Year, MMA,
We can,
and Indeed.
those are things we can talk about, but I think that's my concern is after going through this whole process with Dennis, is, we need to slant it more towards the administrative side of things, the stress of what we're trying to get across. We need to make that properly.
Quick update, like, related to this, I did talk to Jeff.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, they had hired somebody already. They hadn't started yet. Explained to him, about this position again, if there's any interest. And they were considering.
Okay.
Assuming.
Well,
I'll talk to him.
in the meantime, talk to him again before we actually meet, and
I
then
gotta call him.
maybe we've got an alternative.
Jack, what was the position he filled?
Engineering position and,
Under Andy?
Yep.
PE?
you have somebody to help you with the design and. Keep things moving. There, so yeah, it's the guy I think is actually. Was it town engineer, is that?
I might want to be careful what you say.
Yeah. So he was the one that they offered the position. Oh,
So, did,
no.
so do you want to officially tell Jeff that the board decided to move on? Yeah. I just wanted him to officially.
Yep, I will let him know that we're officially moving on.
Yeah, so we're not
I told
wasting
him that
this
we
time.
were discussing at this meeting, that we made opportunity.
Good. Okay.
Nothing, no decision yet.
Okay. We're all done with that. I'd like to move on, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the ERP, the Enforcement Response Plan. AECom has prepared it. Michelle killed a couple of trees to get out to the board, to me. And basically, this is I think it's an overview. A lot of the detailed stuff is actually in the rules and regulations. So if you want to know how much you're fining people or all that, it's in the rules and regulations that the board has already looked at. And in fact, AECom initially had rules and regulations and emergency enforcement response plan. That's the title for the rules and regulations. Notified by EPA that that is not correct. So the ERP portion is being taken off of it. But basically, the board has to have an ERP in place for EPA. So basically, this is to comply with EPA's requirement. It's kind of generic in nature. It's kind of an overview of the program, but if you want to actually see the nut and bolts, go to the rules and regulations to see what's in there. So if that is explaining it correctly.
Jack, is this report, the checklist inspection, is this something we're doing now, or is this a new checklist that we need to inspect?
No, that's what we're currently using.
Are we using
They took what we're currently using, added it.
it's done what, annually?
Inspections are done in.
They announced for the first time, you just go in and take samples.
Right now, we announce. We
How much time
sample
do you give them? You announce.
usually a day or two.
And they do their own quarterly.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do theirs quarterly, and we just make sure that the fence fox isn't watching the hens.
Does anyone compare formally to the water inspections?
As in the test results?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they're, as soon as we receive them from the industry, we confirm they're in compliance with the permit.
Is there any violations?
No. Dentistries are every 2 years. Well, yes, that's correct.
A lot of dentists.
It's 40,
A lot of dentists in these two towns. Yeah.
47 dentists between the 3 towns. It's an involved week, try to get up 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah.
Get them done. Yes. Cool. I haven't seen
That's
any
what
gold.
People ain't giving up a goal. They're taking that back.
Let's take it to pocket.
They're taking that back with them. You kidding me?
Gold.
All right. Now, so you want us to vote on this?
Yes, please, because IECOM would like to submit it to EPA.
All right, so we'll entertain a motion to approve the enforcement response program. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Next item, AECOM submitted a proposal for evaluating local limits. Again, this is in the Nippety's permit. We have 90 days from May 1st to get it done. They actually submitted a proposal back about a year or two ago, and the board actually approved the proposal, but it's been tweaked. The methodology of one of the items that they will be looking at is the fee that we charge for septage. I asked them to look at that as well. I figured might as well have it looked at by somebody outside. So they tweaked the scope of that a little bit as well, and we updated their fee structure, basically. So this is not a new item that the board should vote on, but renewal of an old one that's been updated. And technically, Veolia will be doing the work for the board, and AECOM will be doing the work for Veolia.
So we need to vote for the owner to proceed.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so motion, so moved. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Keith's report. Now, Jack, I don't think we can do this setup again, correct?
No, correct.
I think the provision expires the end of March.
The state law says come April 1st, it's gone.
Right.
Now, on the last time that they did the remote, the pure remote, it was up on a certain date. There was rumor that it was going to be extended or something was happening. They did come out with this hybrid and remote in June, and they made it retroactive. So if the communities that kept it going were okay, and the ones that stopped, like us, were okay as well. And we could jump in. I didn't know we could jump in until just recently. But
I don't know that we're gonna need it anyway. I just want it to be known that this is.
well, you and I should talk about it at some point, maybe when we meet on the other thing. Because Michelle was asking, and Keith was asking that as well. She's got the license or whatever it is for a year.
Okay,
So it's just a matter of more logistics.
right, it may not be up to us, obviously, they don't.
Right, if they don't renew it, it's out.
Extended.
But you could always do it for non-official acts too.
Right, okay, good enough. All right, so the next meeting would be the 13th. So let's continue, Michelle, if you would, please continue polling the board. Make sure, Brady, you're probably gonna be up to the knee in alligators. I think Tom is back before that. I think he was coming back in March.
Take one question, Jack. Septic.
Yep.
This is $50 per 1,000 gallons of nothing increase for 30 years. Why is that? I mean, the septic guys are increasing their people. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question. The one thing to keep in mind that the board, when you charge fees in the towns, cannot make money on the deal. And so every
It's not an
so,
enterprise type of fund, or is
no,
that has to be
right,
net zero?
right.
But
How do you know it's gonna cost more for 30 years later?
I was gonna say, I mean,
Lumber.
our process fees are way more than they were
Well,
30 years ago.
well, that's why I did a napkin analysis just recently, about 2 weeks ago, while Joyce and I were going back and forth. A napkin analysis, just very quickly.
Yeah.
And I came up with, depending upon how strong septage is, you have to make an assumption. So I took a weak septage and I took one that was twice as strong. Weak septage is about $50 a thousand, based upon the budget, the flows, and all of that stuff here that we have here. When you double the septage concentration, then it goes up to about 100, a little bit under. So make a long story short, it's not going to be an exorbitant amount, but I think you probably will see an increase, maybe doubling our fee. I'm guessing. That's if you're
Yeah,
guessing.
but my point is, if I had a septic guy in my house 30 years ago, and he charged me $100 to do it. Now he's charging me $600. 30 years later, that's 600%. Okay, and I don't see where it could be a flat fee all this time, and our costs are going up each year. I don't know if it's a big ticket item, but and I don't know how you can prove you're making profit or not. But
Yeah.
that's anaerobic sludge. That's a heavy load. No, that's not aerobic.
What-
That's anaerobic.
Well, that's why you need to
You
do
have a
it.
high BOD.
How do you determine what it costs? to treat?
Okay, the way I did my napkin, okay, you have how much flow we are treating here. I use 6 million gallons a day because we have a budget of $5+ million, okay, five and a half. So you come up with dollars per gallon. Oh, you have to add the volume of septage to your wastewater volume. Come up with total volume. Then you have to equate your septage volume to how strong it is. I used about 250 or so for BOD, for your strength for wastewater. I used something like 5,000 for septage.
Is there a way, before you go further, is there a way to test?
You can, but it varies with each truckload.
Right.
I'm
saying it goes into a tank,
No, it does not. It goes right into that.
goes right into the
head
system.
where- That's
Goes
correct.
right into the head.
That's correct.
So there's no way of
No.
having it sitting there. After
You're diluting it out.
Yeah.
You're diluting. So basic.
Process.
That's
What they'll probably do is something. So I didn't do any looking up in my books. They'll probably take what typical values are for septage.
Right.
Okay, they'll probably have a range, I would anticipate. And they'll say, okay, using the low end of the range, the higher end of the range. And
What are other plants are getting for septic?
that will be looked at as well. If you remember, Keith, I think, reported about a year or two ago, or whenever it was, what other plants are kind of looking at, what some other plants are. So Keith already has it somewhere. They're going to do a more in-depth survey, I think. But so they'll look at what it would cost and how it relates to the other plants.
Yeah, we generally see 5 to 10 cents a gallon is most common.
Since I'm more on national.
So that $100 range would put us in line with that, Valley?
That'd be 10 cents for 1,000.
So we're losing 50%.
So, but let's take a look at what the engineer comes up with. We'll have a report, then you can justify it. Because if you just say $100, then
That's good.
they'll protest us, and
Yeah, right.
we have to do it.
What's such sludge comes in here?
Septage. About 50 on an annual basis. About 50. Oh, I have it. It's
Annually? Or monthly?
Daily, weekly, whatever.
Monthly can be anywhere from 150 to 350,000.
150 to 350,000 gallons?
That's correct. What happens is March and April are our strongest months because the ground thaw, getting the tank pumped out. And we could see 20,000, 30,000 gallons in a day. The trucks would be lined up. At the end of the drive.
And in the winter time, we're getting the
Truck here.
I should be
During that, I'm sorry?
How much are you capable of handling?
We haven't had any issues up to this time.
But what would be the max?
I would actually have to really look at the data. and get you-
That's something the local limit study will tell you. And that's why it's good to have that. It'll tell you what your headworks limitations are, and that will include septage.
Yeah, right now, my gut feeling is the influent coming in is relatively light compared to the design parameters for this plant for wastewater. Because we have a relatively weak wastewater coming in, you can accept more septage. But it really depends upon, so it equates to how much flow and how much everything you have that you can treat, if you can picture it. So it's kind of hard to answer.
The funds that are coming in, that will be coming in, that are coming in,
So what? I'm sorry.
the funds that are coming in.
It's $50 per dump.
Okay.
That's restart.
How do they pay that?
Where's it go?
Goes to town hall. It goes to town hall, and then when we do the invoicing to the towns, we give them a credit because the town is receiving 100% of the money, and the towns have to get their portion of that income. Just to answer your question, the total volume per year, okay, is roughly 3 million gallons a year of septic.
And how much money does that represent? Income.
Okay, income, I don't have it.
3 million.
It's about 150 because our budget has a little under 50,000. And you have to multiply that by 3 because we pay Veolia about a third, 30%. So we pay Veolia 30% of what we come in. And we pay them 50,000. Multiply that by 3. So we receive $150,000 more or less in septic fees.
At least.
It should be probably double.
Probably.
Now, back to Fran's question. You say we credit the towns. We don't give Westborough credit. We credit Hopkinton, and we should be bumping.
On paper, we do give them a credit because you have to we give everybody a credit and then so it's kind of complicated. I can take out my invoicing, explain it next time.
So what I'm saying is Westborough's getting $150,000. Okay, put it there. There's $150,000 sitting here that Westborough got for the septic.
Right.
Okay. Shrewsbury didn't get any of that yet. Hopkins didn't get any of that yet. We didn't get any of that yet. Okay. All right. So now when you bill the 3 towns, you send them the annual invoices. All right. You're going to reflect in Shrewsbury's bill that
60%.
they're owed the 60% of the 150. Hopkins owed 5% of the 150.
And
Westborough's
Westborough,
already got 100% of the 150.
but the way we do it is we reduce the budget amount by the total amount that the town hall receives. They receive money for SECRAX, for the compost solar system. This last year, that was about $75,000. So they receive about 150 for septic. Okay.
No.
They receive other money. Okay. So you have to give Westborough because we reduce everything by the full amount type of thing.
Okay.
So
how do we recoup? My question is, how do we recoup?
You
So when
don't,
they get paid twice.
no, they're not.
The money goes in there.
Right. Because, okay, now it's when we send out the invoices are reduced to all 3 towns.
Right.
They're reduced by this last year's, by the previous year's
Okay.
money that Westborough received.
Okay.
So when the town of Shrewsbury pays, they're not paying the budget amount, they're paying a modified amount.
Right. I get, and that part I get, but again, what is, you're reducing Westborough's, what do they do with that 150,000 after they've been, their bill has been reduced? What do they do with that 150,000?
Basically, what they have to do is then they have to move 70% of it, or whatever it is, into the sewer enterprise fund or whatever it is, to make up for the budget that we reduced because we modified the invoicing by that amount. it's too complicated to,
I'm sure it's kosher, but it doesn't make sense to the average person. I put this on the town hall floor, and it's gonna be, this shit's gonna be flying.
I would need the invoice in front of me, which I don't have.
I don't want you to have.
It's not complicated. My question is this. If we went to $100, how much business will we lose?
That, you'd have to look at what the survey results
Where
are,
are they gonna go if they don't come here?
maybe up at Blackstone or.
Can they go there though? I thought you had to go wherever it was pumped from. No?
No, you,
No?
some places will receive, we only accept in the 3 towns. We could accept if we wanted to violate the intermunicipal agreement.
What is up at Blackstone, Chuck?
We don't know that. We're gonna find that out when we do the
I
survey.
mean, how many guys you got coming in here, and they're from all the different towns, they're all coming here, very few are going there, then obviously we're the best playing town.
Right now, I think we are.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. 30 years? It's gotta be.
And some probably don't do a study when they do it. But I want to
Darlene,
follow
when you
state
get-
law.
When that study is done, you'll know what Blackstone is charging.
You'll know how many gallons you can take, how much your plant can handle. You can't stop the flow coming in from residential and commercial.
No, my question is, will we know what Blackstone is charging?
When they do the survey.
We can find that out pretty easily.
All right, 'cause what I'm looking at is
We can find that out.
us raising our price to 100. Which business are we gonna lose to Blackstone? But if they're already at 100,
It's probably on the website, Fred. You can probably just
It's not gonna
call.
move.
It's a phone call. I mean, you can ask them what they charge.
Yeah, I'm Joe Blow, septic, hauler, what are you gonna charge me to dump, you know?
No,
But then you
Hopkinton could potentially go to Medway.
well,
But-
Hopkinton is, excuse my language.
Hopkinton is our
Well, we
biggest,
probably get a fair amount of septic
they're our biggest client.
because we're so close.
They're our biggest client, but Medway won't take
But for the
them.
septic guys, it's easy for them to get here, right? Right, Keith? I would think that you've got parameters and the other guy coming in here all the time.
We have 15
From Hopkins, yeah.
Do you have trailer, tankers coming, or just small
We
guys?
have wall trucking that come in with a tanker. He's at least once a week with us.
But we have, unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me, but for septic, Hopkinton is our biggest client. Then Shrewsbury is, I forget, let's say half to 2/3 of what Hopkinton.
Jack, would you think that would go down now with the new septic, the new sewer going down 20 down the Edgemere and stuff?
No, because it's not to extend the sewers to get people that don't have it. So probably whatever, 20% of the town is.
But I mean, so they need to, even though that's been run down and it hasn't been extended up the streets and stuff like that.
No.
Well, if they don't allow residential, so any new construction is still gonna have a septic. I mean, those schools, they don't allow it.
But I'm saying the people that are on septics now would tie into the new sewer, right?
Probably not. I mean,
No, they
it's
won't allow it.
pretty expensive.
Yeah.
They won't allow it.
No, if the sewer goes by the property, then you're gonna pay betterment.
You pay a
If
betterment.
the betterment, you have access to the sewer.
Right.
So if the sewer's in front of your property, you get the.
Yeah, but Jack, they have the school needs district in Shrewsbury.
Needs
District, you
district.
can't tie in the school pipe, is there?
Right.
And as I'm saying, they need to extend it. So what Mike's referring to is they're redirecting some flow up Blackstone. Well, some of the flow, it's in Blackstone.
Right.
Right, so, Blackstone.
Right.
And not gonna come here anymore.
Right.
So then that has to be in the town, some areas that probably need it. Need is, yeah, you get that whole study in the needs districts. You have to get it to them.
Right. And that's gonna take time.
That's what it's like.
All right, so the study will tell us what we need. We're not gonna resolve this now with $50.
And No, I think it's too premature right now to worry about it.
Yeah.
But it is something that the study will, for the most part, tell the board. And the board doesn't have to increase the fees. if you don't want to.
I don't see that.
So, no.
I mean, we have no choice.
Every so often, somebody will say, well, maybe it should be raised whether it be BOE or something. I said, well, do an analysis of it and show that, and nobody has done it. So I just thought it was time to do it. Get somebody to do it that's outside and looks a little bit more professional.
How much is it gonna cost?
Where'd my thing go?
We're gonna make it up when we raise those fees.
It's in their proposal. I think about 15,000 for him.
I have to jump off. As far as reviewing the description, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to Ireland tomorrow. And I won't be back. I know. I won't be back to the 20th. So I'm not available to the 21st to review the job description.
Yeah, that might work out better for me as well. Next week, I think is gonna be crazy.
21st? Okay.
Yeah, sometime after that. Let's let
Yep.
Bethany get back in the country, make sure she's healthy and
Heard of the jet lag.
all that stuff. And Putin hasn't taken over all of Europe.
Exactly. All
Have
of
a good
that.
trip.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, thank you.
The business or vacation?
Vacation, totally vacation.
Awesome. Thank you, Darlene.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Question is, the septic analysis will cost 15,500. So you're paying 15,500 for $150,000 a year receipt that you currently see. So it's about 10%.
I'm still going to 300.
So if it goes to 300,
Let's go on.
you'll get it back in the first month.
Be well worth it. Spend the
Yes. All right, so we will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All right, good meeting.